Envision this. Your fingers are dancing over the keys of your computer, positively bursting with inspiration. You are churning out page after page of quality dialogue, with your characters only occasionally materializing next to you to question their motivations and the story's pacing.
Why isn't it the end of the case? Everyone's dead.
Well, I know that, but I can't wipe out all the bad guys when I'm only on chapter 2.
Why, if your writing endeavor was a metaphorical ship, then the good ship Narrative would be sailing merrily along on an ocean of favorable literary prospects. When all of a sudden, something steals the very wind from your sails, and you find yourself becalmed, trapped in the doldrums. Alas, you've reached the proverbial impasse, the dreaded writer's block.
Sit down yet?
Greetings, good storytellers. I am the Artful Narrator, and it is my privilege to welcome you to learn the tropes of writing. Such is the confounding nature of a writer's block, for even though you often know what you want to do with other aspects of your story, regrettably and inexplicably, you lack the momentum to press onward. And lo, as cabin fever sets in, this cursed hindrance begins to feel less and less like a mere stumbling block, and more like a metaphoric brick wall. Now, stubborn pride would have you try to smash down the wall, banging your head against it until the wall concedes that your head is indeed harder. Though, be warned, this approach can be frustrating, time-consuming, unproductive, and, if nothing else, headache-inducing.
The thing I really miss here is Tylenol.
Now, if you want to save on Tylenol, might I suggest that together we take a step back and re-examine this problem, because perhaps, instead of attempting to bash down writer's block with a sledgehammer, there's in fact a way to outwit it by taking up a new way of thinking. In this vein, I would like to draw your attention to the lesson of the arrow that is not aimed.
Get the chopper back now. Who's this guy?
In a Magnum PI episode of the same name, Magnum and the samurai Tozan encountered difficulty in their efforts to locate a stolen, priceless porcelain plate. Trust me, it is more dramatic than it sounds. While Magnum wants to go out and run down more leads, Tozan suggests that they follow the lesson of the arrow that is not aimed.
You were saying something about the lesson of the arrow that is not aimed?
It is an old discipline practiced by the Ichinaga samurai. The bow is pulled. The archer has no thought of his aim, the arrow, his game, or even of himself. All is one. All is emptiness. Yet, the arrow always finds its target. It's like the universe in a small, quiet pond. Each movement contains everything. Even so simple a thing as serving tea becomes a prayer.
Now, zen as this statement is, the exact translation of the lesson is a little difficult to discern, but we can glean a fair understanding of its meaning by observing the actions of Magnum and Tozan. For under Tozan's instructions, they take their minds off the problem before them, and instead spend a little time in peaceful and enjoyable activities, so that they might let the work they've already set in motion run its course and allow the answers they seek to come to them. Now for me, the viability of this lesson as an effective solution to the problem of overcoming a writer's block is corroborated by this quote from Anne Lamott. The problem is acceptance, which is something we are taught not to do. We are taught to improve uncomfortable situations, to change things, alleviate unpleasant feelings. But if you accept the reality that you have been given, that you are not in a productive creative period, you free yourself to begin filling up again. So it is that if you find yourself struggling, instead of just sitting there trying to hammer away at the block, I would bid you leave your desk, set aside your writing for the moment, and follow the lesson of the arrow that is not aimed. Go out in search of some pleasant diversion. Watch a movie. Go for a walk in the park. Spend time with friends. Or you could even try doing the radical thing, as they say, and break the unproductive rhythm that you have fallen into by doing something singularly different from your norm.
One cannot push for answers, Magnum-san. One must wait and find pleasure in the waiting.
Free yourself to begin filling up again. This phrase makes me wonder, what if this obstacle, this writer's block we face, is neither something so intangible as the doldrums, nor as impervious as a brick wall? What if this obstacle is not a block at all, but an emptiness within us? What if we choose to believe that there lies within each of us a well of inspiration, sometimes full of promise, and other times empty and wanting? For me, this is how it feels to struggle with a story, to feel empty of the inspiration and the creative juices that I require.
Sam, and you say the well is full of it?
I sent men down to the underground reservoir. There's no trace of water to be found.
Now, the mind is a powerful thing, and the idea of a writer's block as a brick wall-like impediment projects an image of woe and wearisome toil, of trying to knock down an immovable barrier. While, on the other hand, the thought of a well, even an empty well, gives me great comfort, for it allows me the agency to take positive action to fill up my well of inspiration. More strong evidence for the conjecture that writer's block is not as it appears comes from this quote by the esteemed Terry Pratchett. "There is no such thing as a writer's block. That was invented by people in California who couldn't write." Now, my family comes from California, so I do not know what Californians did to merit being the butt of that joke, but still, the sentiment of doing away with the idea of writer's block is most welcome, for words have power, and by simply calling this conundrum a block, we rob ourselves of vital agency. Whereas by referring to this problem as a vessel in need of refilling, we may give ourselves a positive course for action. So again, I say to you, why not take a chance at a new way of thinking? Banish this preconceived notion of writer's block from your mind, and instead picture a well of inspiration that has perhaps become depleted. Then, armed with this new vision, go out and follow the lesson of the arrow that is not aimed. Allow yourself time to seek out experiences, welcome unbidden ideas to refill your well of inspiration, all such that in time you may be able to draw upon the well for the solution to the quandary that brought your creative flow to a halt in the first place.
The sand's disappeared, the water returned to the well. Doesn't make any sense. I suppose you have some explanation for this, Merlin.
Granted, this is not an instant solution, and it may still take time for ideas to present themselves. But, to quote Henry David Thoreau, happiness is like a butterfly. The more you chase it, the more it will elude you. But, if you turn your attention to other things, it will come and sit softly on your shoulder. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that this video has been informative, or at the very least, a pleasant diversion. Until next time.
Dark age indeed. Age of inconvenience. No plumbing. No electricity. No nothing. Oh, hang it all! Hang it all!